Today we're driving the 2024 Bronco Raptor, and we're driving my 2024 Ranger Raptor. Two very different vehicles with the same engine. They both share the 3-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost V6 from Ford. The Bronco, however, makes 418 horsepower. The Ranger makes 405 horsepower. We've got 33-inch tires on the Ranger, 37s on the Bronco. You can only get the Bronco with 37-inch tires, which is very cool. The F-150 has the option for 35s or 37s, and the Bronco just gives you full insanity right off the bat. This has got to be one of the most capable off-road vehicles ever made straight from the factory. It's incredible. We've spent some time on this week. It's been fun to drive this after living with my Ranger for a few months now. There are quite a few differences between these two vehicles, even though they share the same powertrain. The biggest difference is probably the price. The Bronco Raptor now starts at $90,000. As tested, this is 96 grand. My Ranger starts at about $56,000, so about a $35,000 price difference. And when we drove a Bronco Raptor a couple years ago, it started at 68. So yeah, the price has gone up about 20 grand in about a year and a half, 2 years. And Ford's painted the fenders and added a graphics package and done a couple things. But for the most part, it's the same Bronco Raptor that we drove a couple years ago, fell in love with. It's just that instead of dealers doing the markups, Ford's kind of doing it themselves now. Yeah. They realize they can make a bit more money with them.
Charging more because they can.
Still, at 90 grand, this still feels like pretty good value because it is so capable. And if you're going to be using it for its intended purpose, like going to Starbucks or going to Moab or Starbucks in Moab,
fair.
It's probably the one to get. Compromises and differences between the two, I think the Ranger's probably going to be the better daily driver. It's quieter, it's a little bit more comfortable inside, but the Bronco is just badass and makes you feel superhuman. You can take the roof panels off, which does make the interior a little bit louder.
Yes.
But it's more fun, I think. So we're going to start with the Bronco. Let's walk you guys around that. Interior space, Bronco's a little bit bigger inside. The Bronco has this really neat looking interior. I think everything in here is pretty well designed. We've got these Alcantara seat inserts, which are an optional extra, and the graphics package, as well as the code orange Beadlock ring surrounds. Those look super, super sharp. This one is painted in shelter green. And as you can see next to TheTopher here, there's a very nice metallic flake to it in the sunlight.
We both kind of disliked this color when it showed up.
I know.
But after seeing it out in the sun a few times, I'm kind of starting to, it's growing on me a bit.
I'm warming up to it the more I spend time with it. Yeah. I don't like that it kind of replaced code orange because that was such a great color. I really wanted my Raptor in code orange, but they only offered that for the European and South American and other markets for the 2023 model year. So does this take regular also? They both take regular fuel.
And Easter egg.
Oh yeah, there you go. 1969, 2014, 2022. I like that. That's pretty neat. The Bronco inside is just a Bronco with slightly nicer finishings. I think we've got some extra chassis rigidity with some additional bracing up here. We've got nice floor mats, accessory ready panels all over the place there, here. Not sure what you'd put on the fender, but that's okay.
Bag for your hardtop.
Oh yeah, hardtop bags, got to have those. Actually, I do really like the packaging inside of the Bronco. It's a good amount of space. It's nice to have that little spot underneath. Of course, the Ranger is a truck. You get a 5'1" bed. This is my daily driver right now. I use the bed to put my mountain bike, mulch, wheels, all sorts of fun things in the back, and then I throw my kids behind me, and they fit pretty well back here. I have one child in a rearward-facing car seat, one in a forward-facing, and honestly, there's just enough room in this Ranger. It's not tons of space, but it works. Everything works well. I'm 5'10", my wife's about 5'4", and we all fit in here great. And I feel like the Bronco interior is a little bit larger inside. There's just a bit more room to stretch out in here. Really nice materials though, really nice interior quality. Lots of cool little Easter eggs and design elements. Let's go drive the Bronco first. Maybe we'll start it up, pop the hood.
Yeah. I have the key.
You have the key, okay.
There you go.
course, we have all of our steering, R mode, suspension, and exhaust buttons right here on the steering wheel. To my ear, these two sound very different inside the car. I feel like there's just different intake routing or maybe different engine mounts or something going on in the Bronco Raptor. It's a bit louder of a V6.
The Bronco is whooshier.
It is whooshier, yeah. Infotainment, very different between the two vehicles. They both work fine. They both take a little bit to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
They just get a little bit sleepy until they've had about 30 seconds to kind of get out of bed. We've got grab handles in the Bronco. I like that. The tops are relatively simple to take off. There are 4 of them, so a bit tedious if you want to just pull everything off, but it is well worth it if you've got a nice sunny day. All of your controls are central here, because if you do pull the doors off, the mirrors do stay on the Bronco, which is great. Just a big rat's nest of tubes and wires and hoses. Yeah.
It's nice to give you hood struts, though.
They do. That is nice. Let's compare to the Ranger here. You can see inside the Ranger interior, slightly different design language here. We've got an Australian designed and developed vehicle, so looks a little bit different inside. The steering wheel is kind of a different design from what we've seen in a lot of other Ford products. A little bit of a different exhaust tone too.
You should stand behind and I'll rev both and compare.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, engines look identical.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yep. Ranger is a little bit more efficient, just being about 400 pounds lighter, a bit more aerodynamic.
Yeah.
I've been averaging on the highway about 19-20 in the Bronco this week, about 17, 18. So in the city, they both get about 13, 14. You know, any big vehicle lifted on beefy KO2s and KO3s, that's just kind of the way it goes. Oh, and with the Ranger hood, you have to absolutely slam it. There we go. All right, Chris, give us a couple revs here with the Ranger Raptor.
Sounds good.
Does sound good.
All right. Important research we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is what the people want to know. All right, Bronco Raptor. The Ranger might have a louder exhaust.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, obviously, I've spent a bunch of time in your Ranger and the one we had last week, and I feel like not only does this have a louder exhaust, but the different exhaust modes differentiate a bit more than they do in the Bronco.
Yeah, they don't really do a whole lot in this,
They
except for quiet mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Baja gets pretty loud in this.
Yes.
Those were both in sport mode.
Yeah.
For reference. Yeah, this sounds a bit more industrial and truck-like. I think in the cabin, the Bronco is louder.
Yeah.
And the Ranger just has more insulation. Also, the exhaust is routed away, and there's a truck bed, which is an enclosed thing that's kind of separating you from the cab. So there's that too.
I'm more inclined to floor the Ranger everywhere because it sounds more exciting.
Yeah, they both sound good. I think they both sound good. So definitely a more subdued outward appearance from the Ranger Raptor. This is a pretty conservative design language from Ford, honestly, for a Raptor product. Of course, this is the baby Raptor, so that's understandable. In the class of mid-sized truck, this kind of dominates in every way. Power, suspension tuning. We have Fox live valve shocks here, which are just fantastic. You can see those right there. Super soft. This is kind of more high-speed rally truck oriented, whereas the Bronco, it can kind of do everything. And of course the Bronco, having better weight distribution, it really puts its power down a lot better than the Ranger does with a very light rear end being a truck. So let's go drive the Bronco Raptor and see what this is like on the road. We don't need too extensive of a walk around because I mean, you guys have seen probably lots of videos on both these vehicles, but we're going to give you some driving impressions today. I like that this just has a straightforward shifter. The shifter in the Ranger takes some getting used to. It's very light. It's easy to kind of misshift into drive or reverse or neutral if you want to.
Yeah.
This is just nice and solid and chunky. So, Chris, you spent a little bit of time in this week.
Yes.
I love the way this drives.
I like it too. I like what you said earlier about how it makes you feel superhuman, because I agree with that.
Yeah.
I like driving vehicles like this, the Land Cruiser, Lexus GX, like big chunky SUVs that have a high seating position. Like, they just make you feel cool, and it makes me understand more why people want to buy these.
Yeah.
You also feel like you can just run everything over, like, take a shortcut, drive over curbs, whatever you need to do.
You can get your destination as the crow flies.
That's right.
That sounds very GTR-like to me.
It does. A lot of cool boost noises.
Yes. This handles awesome. For the level of off-road capability here, the road manners are just fantastic. Of course, there's a little bit of squat and dive and body roll, and we can stiffen up our suspension. We can put us into sport mode, which is the stiffest mode on the street. And that'll help a little bit. But ultimately, the shorter wheelbase and the shock calibration here is just incredible. Ford Performance always knocks it out of the park with their vehicle dynamics. And in both these vehicles, both the Ranger and the Bronco, they drive awesome.
They do.
Yeah. In some respects, the 10-speed feels a bit smoother in this Bronco Raptor.
Yeah.
And in other respects, it doesn't. They're kind of about even. There's occasional rough downshifts and starts off the line, but I think overall the Bronco's a bit smoother.
Biggest difference I've found is that the transmission tuning feels smoother in the Bronco, but the throttle tuning I feel like isn't as linear.
Okay.
So I had more kind of jumpy starts in this
Interesting.
Ranger.
Let's go into sport mode. I like the paddles in this. We're about to drive the Ranger, but to me that feels a little bit faster, and that would make sense because we pretty much have the same horsepower, but quite a large weight differential. And the reason for that is the Bronco Raptor really, it's another level. It's another level up from the Ranger in terms of running gear. This shares a lot of suspension components and stuff from the F-150 Raptor, and it's just overbuilt in ways that the Ranger just isn't. A lot of the Ranger stuff is Bronco running gear, Bronco Sasquatch, Bronco Wild Track, and it's just not built to the same level of indestructibility as the Bronco. So there's that. I mean, you're definitely getting more for your money here if you're off-roading, if you're going to be using this vehicle as intended. You get a few more features in the Bronco Raptor. Disconnectable sway bars, trail turn assist, both have locking front and rear differentials. Put us back into normal mode so we're not screaming away here everywhere. Sport mode is good though.
It is.
You gotta applaud Ford. They do such a good job with their drive modes. And they're kind of just set it and forget it. Whatever situation you're in, whether it's sand or wet weather or sporty driving, you just gotta select that drive mode and the vehicle figures everything out. You don't really need to touch a whole lot.
I appreciate the easy access to customization of certain aspects of the drive mode also on the steering wheel.
Yes.
So if you want to be in normal mode with loud exhaust or comfort steering or whatever, you're able to easily access that.
Yep, and then you can save your custom R mode to whatever you want.
Yep.
I will say, steering in the Bronco is much lighter, and I think the steering in the Ranger is a bit heavy. It's a bit too heavy. It's good. I like it, but it takes a bit of effort.
That is a nice first gen RX.
Yes, it is. Let's see if we can get traction control to turn off here for us. This was happening to me earlier. No warnings, no signs. Do we have to stop?
I think you have to stop, yeah.
Go into sport mode. It was just very laggy. Maybe I do have to stop. No, there's traction off. Hold for advanced track off. Maybe it's just a double press in this. It's different. Okay, there we go. It's just a double press. In the Ranger, it gives you kind of a loading bar.
Gotcha. Well, that only took 45 seconds to turn.
That's right. Turn signals. Very light touch in the Bronco. In the Ranger, everything kind of has this like chunky solidity, except for the shifter.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Different feel. Different control weights. Bit of safe understeer there from those KO2s.
It's surprising how much body roll is mitigated when you're in sport mode, though.
Yeah, like it helps a lot.
It stiffens up quite a bit.
In both vehicles, it helps a lot. This has 4 auto, which is fun. It basically just operates like an all-wheel drive system. So if you're driving in wet weather or in the winter, you can just leave this in 4A pretty much the whole time, and you've got an all-wheel drive vehicle. Though 2 high is probably a bit more fun because you can do slidey, drifty stuff. But in 4 auto, this rockets out of corners. Like, it's got good power.
It's quick.
All right, we're gonna get on the highway here. Quit messing around here with our entrance and exit ramps. Look at that. It's a legitimately fun vehicle to drive.
It is a lot of fun.
It just does everything well, everywhere. Really, my only complaints with this Bronco Raptor are it's so expensive, but it's just as expensive as the Jeep 392.
Yeah.
And it's arguably a much better vehicle.
It is, on paper.
On paper,
it is,
yeah.
But I get more fizz driving the Wrangler 392.
The Wrangler 392 is the most outrageous V8, and it has so much personality. Yeah, I would be hard-pressed to choose between the two, honestly.
I would pick the Jeep.
The Jeep is just stupid, hilarious fun,
Yeah.
and this is just like impressive goodness and
Yes.
great engineering.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And both are great. Both are fun. You kind of can't go wrong. It depends if you're actually going to be doing like super hardcore, crazy off-roading.
Yeah.
This is probably the pick. But if you just want a fun vehicle to rip around it and make a bunch of noise and wake up all your neighbors,
Yeah.
the Wrangler is amazing, and that's got tons of capability too. But
part of it for me is that I've just never been a big fan of this 10-speed because it just kind of slurs and like kind of acts like a CVT.
there are a lot of gears.
There's just so many gears.
Too many gears.
It's never really done it for me, and I get that it's good for going fast because you're always in the power band and it makes sense in that setting. But as far as like spirited driving and using the paddles and engaging with the vehicle, I never really have fun with the 10-speed. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think 10 gears are probably too many.
Yeah.
An 8-speed would have been just fine.
Yep. The ZF 8HP to be exact.
That's right. Yeah. Which in the Wrangler 392 is a bit sluggish, a bit laggy sometimes,
Yeah.
but it is good and it is fun
It's
and
fun.
it makes all the right noises.
Yeah.
Yeah. whistle and a whine when you accelerate in this Bronco Raptor sometimes.
Yes.
Occasionally on the brakes this week, I feel like it sounds like a hybrid giving me regen at lower speeds. It's kind of a weird sensation.
I wonder if it's supposed to do that.
I don't know. Could just be a little bit of gear whine.
Oh, you got an entrance right.
I think we've got an entrance here. We got it. Nice. I'm gonna say I really like these KO2 tires. The jury's a bit out on the KO3s for me.
Okay.
Rain traction has been compromised, and that could also just be the fact that on the Ranger Raptor, it's a truck, it doesn't have any weight over the rear end. This Bronco really puts its power down.
It does.
More so than any of the other Raptor products, the F-150 included. I mean, it's kind of hard to get this thing sideways. It just rips in too high. It honestly, in most like Baja high-speed, fast-driving scenarios, you don't really need 4-auto because it grips so well in two-wheel drive, and it's so much fun. We have an off-road video on the Bronco Raptor from a couple years ago. Go check that out. We take it through its paces at Hollyoaks, and we're coming out with an off-road video on the Ranger Raptor. That'll probably come out before this because we filmed it last week.
Yeah.
All right, so at speed, you can hear we have quite a bit of wind noise. It's not bad for shorter journeys, but on longer trips, it wears on you. I drove this a couple hours this week, and by the time I got home, I had kind of a headache.
Gotcha. My solution to this would be to turn up the B&O.
Yes.
Because it's quite a powerful sound system in this.
It's a good sound system.
Yes.
Yep.
Which makes sense, because you still have to be able to hear it when you've got the roof off and the doors off. So a ton of power, and pretty decent complexity too. I think they've kind of retuned this over the years and made it sound better and better.
Ford's doing a good job with their B&Os.
They are.
I'm happy with the B&O and the Ranger Raptor too.
Yeah, it bumps in your truck too.
Yep.
I would say even more so in this.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean it needs it. There is a lot of road noise, a lot of wind noise in this. Between the tire growl and just kind of the wind around the roof. Earlier this week, I found one of the roof panels wasn't completely bolted down.
Yeah.
But you fixed that.
I remedied that.
Yeah.
I was putting the two front roof panels back on. I was like, oh, I should check the back, and it was only held on by one
latch.
One latch.
That's right.
So whoever had this last.
No Blue Cruise in either of these vehicles. For the price, that seems like a bit of an oversight in the Bronco Raptor. In the Ranger Raptor, I can accept that.
Yeah. Man, that would be interesting for them to calibrate Blue Cruise to work with something like this.
I know.
It'd be cool though.
It would be. When it works, it's a good system.
Yes.
What do you think, Chris? What are your final thoughts on this Bronco Raptor this week?
I always like driving Broncos. I think that this is very much the choice for if you are serious, like you said earlier, serious about performance driving, whether that be on or off-road. You get a lot more if you're talking about comparatively to the Ranger. Like if you are doing extreme things, this makes sense. It looks bonkers. It makes you feel superhuman.
Out of the box, you can pretty much go anywhere in this.
Yeah, it's just it's a very purpose-built vehicle, and obviously, like, if you want one, you want one. Like, I feel like people that want this definitely have their sights set on it.
Oh, for sure. No, you're right. That is very true. The Ranger, though, it's kind of a bargain in the mid-sized truck market right now. It undercuts a lot of its competitors in price, like the Tacoma TRD Pro,
Colorado ZR2 Bison.
Yeah, ZR2 Bison, and I mean, you know, and it's, I think, a better product than both of those vehicles.
Yeah.
The calibration is better. It's got higher performance powertrain, and to have kind of the similar experience for 99% of where you're going to be going and how you're going to be using the vehicle, compared to this, the Ranger, I think, makes for really good value.
Absolutely.
Let's go find out how different it actually is to drive than this Bronco, and we can make some conclusions. Because today's video is this is just a street drive. We're not sending these things off jumps. I will say, because, and this is just pure selfish, insane interest, the Ranger Raptor is way easier to drift and get sideways and hoon around than the Bronco, And that is one thing I really like about
That's
the Ranger.
important for you,
Yeah.
specifically.
It is important for me. I'll give you these back. Thanks. All right, so you may also notice that my Ranger Raptor has different wheels on it in this video, and that's because I've gone with a set of Braid Beadlock style B wheels. These are kind of technically bead screw wheels where there are bolts, 12 bolts all around the rim that basically just kind of clamp down on the bead of the tire to keep this from debeading at low pressure. I actually took this out to the Silver Lake sand dunes about a month ago, and I aired down to 10, 12 PSI in this, and I actually spun the rim on the tire, and the tires came out of balance in the rear. So wet sand, 405 horsepower, never really had that combination before, and I realized that maybe I need a solution to keep these from spinning on the tires. So we've got a little bit of overcompensation now with that. We've got a knurled inner lip on this rim, and then also these screws that kind of keep that bead locked into its position and give it this extra hump to have to go over to debead if that were a case in low pressure scenario. So anyway, we've got these Braid wheels. These are the Braid Fullrace Dakars in 17x8 at a 40 millimeter offset. I think they look great on the truck.
They make it look like a rally truck.
They do, yeah. That's kind of what I'm going for here, and that's
I love 'em.
spiritually what this is. This is a rally truck.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's go do some more Raptor things.
Still have a handle to get in,
Yes.
but you do not.
I do not, strangely. All right, we're gonna put us into some more exciting modes here. Sport exhaust, sport suspension. So as you can see, we've got a slightly different steering wheel design. The button placement for adjusting your steering, suspension, exhaust settings is right here versus down below like it is on the Bronco. We've got wireless charging right here, a nice little slot to put your phone. Here's our kind of wonky shifter. It works once you get used to it. You've got your drive mode selector down here, which feels kind of cheap and plasticky, but it gets the job done, if I'm being honest. 2 high, 4 low, 4 auto. Off-road modes down here. Turn off your auto stop start as well. We've got our Raptor R button. Where is that? Right here on the steering wheel. Paddle shifters, trailer brake, stop start. Oh yeah, this can tow, I think it's 10 pounds, and the Bronco Raptor is, I believe, 4,500.
That sounds right.
Yeah, so I'd rather tow in this, but that can do a decent amount. Like you could take your side-by-side to the dunes and almost perform at the same level as it in your Bronco Raptor, which is pretty cool. That could be the recovery vehicle for when you flip it over 12 times. We're going to turn off traction control because that's what we do.
That's what you do.
In this. Yeah, that's what I do in this. And I'm going to put my steering into comfort. So it's a little bit lighter. My favorite thing about both these vehicles is you can just send it over speed bumps and they don't care.
I like a lot of the materials that they used in here.
They're nice, yes.
Last week we were driving the Land Cruiser, which was like, what, 20 grand more than this, and materials didn't feel as nice.
No, there's a lot of plastic. I think Ford's done a good job with these interiors. The seats are kind of this like rugged leather-like material. We've got some Alcantara suede inserts down there too.
I like the door panels. I like the differentiation of materials.
Yeah.
Like the really soft points for your elbows.
There's a really nice soft spot here.
I mean,
it's not quite Alcantara. It's kind of like this rubberized material, but it is cool. Case in point, this feels quicker.
It does.
Right off the bat.
It definitely does.
And I'll be honest, I've been running this on 87. No. So this isn't even on 93 right now. I thought I'd do a test and see how it felt in 87.
Yeah.
And I can't tell the difference.
Okay, fair enough.
I think honestly I'm going to go back to 93 just for engine longevity.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a bit of a test for a couple tanks. And 87 octane, you save like 20 bucks a tank in this.
Yeah.
And it says it on the filler cap, like you can do it.
87
it's fine.
plus.
Yeah. If you're not towing or driving in a high performance manner, I think 87 is probably just fine for this.
Yeah.
All right, so immediately this feels lighter, more nimble, a bit better on the road. I love this truck.
I love riding in this truck.
Oh my gosh. It's doing
So
its
fun.
best impression of a sports car.
Yes.
Weighs about 5,300 pounds. It's about 400 pounds lighter than the Bronco. Rear end just gets light at every opportunity. But it's so easy to control and drive, and very well balanced, good brakes. We actually had this out on a racetrack recently in the wet, going sideways for dozens of miles.
That was one of the best things I've ever watched on a racetrack.
Oh my gosh, it was so much
Yeah.
fun. I've always wanted to do that. And we did it in my Ranger Raptor, and it was a blast.
Yeah, go watch that video.
Yeah, go check that out. Much, much, much quieter in this cabin.
Yes.
Like, this is actually a really decent long distance cruiser. It's comfortable, it's quiet. I love these seats. That pulls well.
It does. Definitely fits noticeably quicker than the
Yes,
Bronco.
yes. I thought about going to 34 or 35 inch tires on this, but I decided to stick it out with these KO3s because I want to see how they perform in the winter and the snow. It seems like they're a slightly softer compound, which means they should have pretty good cold and wet weather performance.
Okay.
I'm not really blown away by anything they've done thus far in my time with them, but I do kind of want to get a fair test out of them, and maybe we'll throw a set of Falcon Wild Peak AT4Ws on after that. And I'll probably go to 34 inch tires then, which will rob some power and MPGs from this.
That's right, yeah. Weren't the KO2s kind of like sketchy in the snow? Or no?
It depends. We had a Bronco 6-speed manual
Yeah.
Badlands a couple years ago,
Yep.
and the KO2s on that were fantastic in the snow.
Okay.
Yet the KO2s that my dad has on his FJ are terrible.
All right, fair enough.
So, you know, C-load, E-load, compounds from the factory. I feel like very often you'll get a softer compound for OEM applications, whereas off the shelf may be a little bit harder and different depending on size and load rating. This feels like a softer compound, like it may not have as good tread life. And, you know, the way I've been driving this Ranger Raptor, it's worn okay, but it's definitely seen a little bit of cupping, a little bit more wear than I would think like you'd see from an off-the-shelf KO2 maybe. I don't know. That's just speculation.
Okay.
But one of the reasons why I'm thinking about maybe upgrading to a Falcon Wildpeak AT4W is that it just has a more solid structure and better, longer tread life. So for my hard driving on dry pavement,
Right.
it might actually perform a little bit better. I will say, one thing I really like about this 10-speed in both applications is that it downshifts so fast.
Oh yeah.
It's so immediate.
10th to 4th gear immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So at least it does that well.
Yeah, it does.
And it does do a good job utilizing the torque from this 3-liter V6 to kind of ride out a gear and let you kind of get that power out of a corner. Honestly, sport mode in this Ranger Raptor is a very usable mode on a daily basis. It'll upshift into 10th gear on the highway when you're cruising.
Yeah.
And around town, it just kind of does a good job. Is that the only reason why I bought a Ranger Raptor? No, but it was like the top 2 reasons. All right, we're gonna go back into normal here. And we're gonna set our cruise control. And annoyingly, our lane keeping system is gonna turn on automatically. And the Ranger Raptor we had last week, it doesn't do that.
Oh.
And I think it's an update that was pushed to some of the later builds
Okay.
in the Ranger Raptor that causes that. So you always have to either just kind of, you engage cruise control for the first time, then you automatically press the lane keep system off button, and then you're good to go. My trick is I've just set this to like a warning, so it just kind of vibrates the wheel if I get offline slightly.
Okay.
But it's kind of a complaint that I have about this. The lane centering doesn't work particularly well. You really have to kind of keep your hands on the wheel a lot. It's always prompting you to put your hands back on the wheel. It doesn't last very long on its own. The adaptive cruise control works nicely though. I've been impressed with the adaptive cruise control system. It follows surprisingly close at the closest distance setting. So close that I find myself dialing it back quite a bit. Like right now, it's just doing its thing. And we're basically just tailgating this tree shredding truck. Which probably isn't a good idea. So we're gonna dial it back to like mode 3 so we don't get shredded. Connectivity, living with this Ranger Raptor has been actually surprisingly good. I did hear about some issues initially. I haven't had too many problems with it. My R button went out pretty early on in my ownership, about 1,300 miles, and I just disconnected the battery, reconnected it, and it was fine. So a couple little software complaints and issues, but overall this has been pretty solid. Quality control on these vehicles has been kind of hit or miss. I've heard some Ranger owners saying they have terrible fitment, tons of rattles in the interior. They've had engine issues kind of right off of the bat. I think I've gotten a good one, and a lot of other owners seem to be fine too. So, you know, you have a friend who tests vehicles for Ford, and he said that their test vehicles, which had over 100,000 miles on them, were very reliable. And this kind of went through development twice. It went through it once in Australia and then once in the United States. So I feel like the powertrain and everything here is pretty solid if you get a good one.
For sure.
You know, as with any new vehicle. Yeah. It's just, you know, there are lemons in any manufacturer. It's just quality control. So I know Ford is trying to improve their quality control, and they have made an effort to do so with the new Rangers, because they're spending and they're losing a whole lot of money on warranty repairs with their vehicles.
Definitely.
So,
yeah, I think overall this new infotainment system works a heck of a lot better than the old Sync 4 or whatever.
Yes.
In the Bronco.
Yep. It's still not as fast as Sync 3 was with its smaller screens and stuff, but I like that we get climate controls down here that are physical. That's been great. No cooled seats in either the Ranger or the Bronco Raptors, which is kind of strange. You feel like the Bronco would have that for the money. It's perforated too, yeah, exactly.
Maybe next year when they raise the price to 110 grand, they'll give us cooled seats.
That's right. Yeah, hopefully this doesn't go up much because it's such good value. Hopefully we kind of stay around 55, 60 grand.
Yeah, I don't think this will go up as much because they have to stay competitive in this segment, which is really hot right now.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Bronco, they can just charge whatever they want because it's an enthusiast vehicle and people will pay it. So.
Yeah. All right, so Ranger Raptor, heavier steering, lighter, faster, better handling, maybe a little bit more fun to get sideways.
Yeah.
The better bargain. But if you want a serious vehicle, the Bronco Raptor kind of is in a class of its own.
Oh yeah.
It can't be beat. The thing I like about the Bronco in the Raptor lineup is that it's kind of the right size. Even though it's 86 inches wide, it fits in your garage.
It does.
It fits down trails. And that's the thing I like about this too. You know, the F-150 has always been a little bit too big, unless you get just tons of space. It's hard to take into the city. This is kind of the right size truck too. It fits in my garage. It can go in a parking structure. It can go down a trail without getting a ton of pinstriping. The Bronco, you're just going to pinstripe your fenders, which you should probably have wrapped, or just get them in plastic. But I kind of like them painted. I think they look good.
I do too. And did you know, for 2024.5, you can now get a painted hardtop.
That's right. That's a good looking option. I think it's amazing how no one really has challenged any of the Raptor products from other manufacturers. They've tried and they still haven't quite come to the level of what Ford is able to do with the Bronco Raptor, with the Ranger Raptor, with the F-150 Raptor. The TRX got pretty darn close.
Yep.
There's some things that I really like about the TRX. Love that it came out with a supercharged V8. Didn't really like the suspension as much as the F-150 Raptor.
Wasn't as soft.
Wasn't as compliant. Ford gets this kind of soft, squishy, really well damped Baja style suspension, almost perfect in their products.
Yep.
And everyone else kind of doesn't quite get there. Even the new Tacoma TRD Pro has Fox suspension.
Yeah.
Not as good as these live valves.
Wow. They
Yeah.
put shocks in the seats on that.
That's right.
Still not
Yeah.
as good.
The isodynamic seats are cool.
Yeah,
That
I'm
is
excited
that
to
is a
try
cool thing. But the truck's kind of all over the place. Whereas this is just so well controlled off road. It just soaks everything up beautifully. I'm curious to see what they do with the Ranger Raptor. If they come out with a Ranger Raptor R with maybe beefier components in the front. The weak point here is the steering rack. The tie rods are kind of shared with the Bronco, and those have been known to be a bit breaky. You actually sent me a video this morning of a Ranger Raptor driving down the road like this. Yeah.
Then you replied, I'm going to start keeping spare tie rods. in the
Yeah,
glove box."
I might. So maybe we'll get a Ranger Raptor R in the future. It would have been awesome to get this with a V8. I doubt that's going to happen. I think there's just probably packaging constraints.
Yeah.
But, if they put the V8 from the F-150 Raptor R in there, that'd be pretty awesome. That'd be nuts. I mean, that'd be a $130,000
At least.
Bronco Raptor, but
Yeah.
people would pay it. All right, well, anyway, hopefully this comparison has been helpful and useful. The rest of that stuff is all speculation.
Yep.
But thanks to Substitute Topher for tagging along, bringing
course.
one of the vehicles so we could have them next to each other,
Yeah.
and offering some of your insights and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go check them out at Topher Drives. We're not the same person. We sound similar.
Yeah.
We grew up in the same town. We have the same name,
Yeah.
first name. We're not related. And we both have YouTube channels with Topher in them because that's what our names kind of are. Christopher. Christopher.
Cool. I'll just timestamp this whenever somebody asks me,
Yeah, that's right.
and you explained it
There it is.
very gracefully there.
Yep. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed this comparison. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Saved a little bit of unsprung weight with these wheels, too. They're about 7 pounds
they're
lighter
lighter.
per corner. Yeah. So that might contribute to the better acceleration, too. I think I'm going to put 34s on here.
Yeah.
Because when you turn the wheel, you still have about an inch of space between the front crash bar and the tire.
Okay.
And I think 35s also tear up the fender liners at full compression at high speed. And 34s might just be the perfect size. Though I'm going to burn through these KO3s first, because might as well.
Drifting.
Drifting, yeah.
Because every car you own can drift, including your front-wheel drive onto Civic.
That's right, yeah. Yep, that was a requirement.